For the second year, second place goes to South Africa's Herman Chalupsky, followed by Aussie Grant Kenny. Top Hawaii finishers, 5th place Kala Judd, 6th place finisher Jeff Garth. The ladies, Jane Hall and Kelly Fay.
How does it feel this year?
Oh, great. Yeah, really good. A bit different to last year where we had to paddle into a headwind. This year was a lot faster going downwind and certainly a better race. I think, you know, the pack was together for a long time.
To spend a Sunday then paddling with 30 miles across the Kaiwi Channel in the Banco Kayak Challenge, but I don't know if I could come up with a more rewarding thing to do. This is the 17th running of the Molokai to Oahu race, and this is last year's winner, Dean Gardner of Australia, coming around China Wall, and to borrow a term from horse racing, down the stretch he comes. Gardner pulled away from Herman Chalupsky, glided under the bridge into Hawaii Kai Marina, and on his way to a 3-hour, 30-minute, and 15-second time.
It's, you know, a great feat just to finish, and anyone that can cross that channel certainly has something, you know, but to win it, you know, that's what we're here for. I came over to win it, and I'm really glad I did.
Better, she won her 3rd straight and smashed the record time.
You tend to think, why do I do these things? And straight after a race you say, I'm never going to do that ever again. But it was a good race this year. It was better conditions, the sort of conditions that we hear about, you know, catching the runs the whole way.
This is a tough race, even for the paddlers in top shape, but it has its rewards. A lei and a kiss from Miss Coco Marina, Shelley Young, and to help buy a lot of Ben Gay for those extra sore muscles, $1,000 for 1st place. The first local female to finish was Kelly Fay, the first local male, Kala Judd. Congratulations to them.
But those Australians are strong, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they're born in the water or something. They
Must
do real
be.
well.
Thanks, Scott.
Defending champion Dean Gardner chose a northerly course in today's near-ideal conditions.
Yeah, I went a little bit north. The guys on the escort boat were saying that I was about, you know, half a mile north or quarter of a mile north of the rum line, so I was happy to stay up there because that's where the wind was coming from. And, yeah, it worked, so I'm really happy.
South African Herman Chalupsky, the younger brother of 7-time champion Oscar Chalupsky, kept Gardner in sight the entire way, but chose a southerly course instead.
I was battling to get the kayak back up north after I went so far south. And the last half an hour really killed me. Dean must have really taken it out of me then.
Gardner pulled away by the time the field reached Portlock Point, and it was then he realized this race was his.
I knew when I got around Portlock Point there, I looked around and I couldn't see. I think Herman was second. I couldn't actually see him then, and I thought, well, if I go hard now, no one will catch me. So I went hard and I came in first.
Last year, Gardner finished in just under 5 hours. The near-flat conditions made that race a grueling one. But today, the surf in the channel and the easterly winds allowed Gardner to flirt with the course record of 3 hours, 27 minutes, and 31 seconds set by Oscar Chalupsky in 1984. But Gardner would fall just short. His winning time today, 3 hours, 30 minutes, and 15 seconds.
I said to myself last year that, you know, it was good to win. I sort of got it off my shoulders now, and you know, a second victory is even better, yes. And especially this year too, it was a lot more competitive. You know, we had 3 or 4 guys there that I could see the whole way, and you had to keep going. You couldn't rest. Just keep going the whole way.
Chalupsky finished second, just 2 minutes back, followed by 5-time winner Grant Kenny of Australia.
It doesn't really matter how hard you go, how much training you've done, or where you finish. It's always a challenge, and it always feels good to get there to Coco Head. Worst part is that's probably the hardest part from there into here, but you know, that's part of the race. It's good.
Kala Judd was the first Hawaii paddler to cross the finish line and was 5th overall. He said today's conditions made this one of the best crossings ever.
It's different every time we go. It's unique, and when it's like this, it's a true pleasure. You know, you can ride the swell, you can vary the tempo, you get a little chance to rest. Last year and 2 years ago, the conditions were really adverse. 2 years ago was my last race, and it was dead flat, very monotonous, very boring. So it's a real pleasure when we can get out there and get some wind and do some surfing.
On the women's side, Australian Jane Hall successfully defended her title, winning her third Banco Kayak Challenge. Her time, 4 hours, 14 minutes, and 23 seconds. Hawaii's Kelly Fay finished second, 2 minutes back.
A lot of people thought I was a flat water paddler only, so it's nice to be able to do it when there were some swells. I guess next, well, you just got to take every year as it comes, you know, paddle the water as you see it. So if it's flat water, you got to paddle it. If it's really rough, you got to paddle it. So it was good this year. I'm another year older and another year crazier.
She's very powerful today. It wasn't real rough. It was smooth bumps. It was kind of calm actually. But I wouldn't put anything past her. She's tough.
Hawaii's Patrick Urin won the one-man canoe event, but for the fourth consecutive year, the Australians dominated the kayak challenge on the men's side, and Jane Hall proved herself once again in the women's race. The Hawaii paddlers are just a step behind and hope someday soon this trend will end.
I thought I'd won the race when my escort boat said that I'm going for the record now, so I thought, well, I must be in front by a fair way, and so I pushed a little bit harder, and I thought, well, I only just missed it last year, so I wanted to get it this year.
Beautiful race, Dean. I think you got the record. Time! You know what? I can't see the numbers. Yeah, I mean, the other one is on the right bow. Ask Mike if we can put somebody over on that other side with a voice that can at least just holler a number.
Dean Gardner spends a great deal of time on the water, so it's no surprise that the Finlandia Clean Water Challenge is just the trip he's looking for.
I saw it last year. It was on for the first time last year, and I thought, well, you know, that'd be something I'd sort of like to do. But last year was closed off to foreign people. It was only open to North Americans.
The challenge begins June 29th in Chicago. The 20 kayakers will first cross Lake Michigan. Then they navigate 2 rivers before heading into the Erie Canal. 31 days later and almost 1,000 miles, they cruise down the beautiful Hudson, ending things in New York.
From what I've heard, it's not the healthiest place, but I guess that's what this race is all about, is to bring public awareness to the water system, and hopefully we can all get together and clean it up.
Dean could also clean up financially from the race. First prize is $25,000.
I've never looked at a race for the financial gain. It's, you know, like I've been in this sport of kayaking for a long time, and I'm not a millionaire, so I'm not doing it for the finance. So it's definitely something I like doing.
And don't forget to write Dean, especially from the Hudson. Dave Vinton, KGMB 9 Sports.
Jocelyn, see if you got both folks in there.
Okay. Who is this, Mike? Oh, okay. I thought it was a dress code.
I won't bang you, man. Promise.
Are you sure aiming for the finish? He's right next to the
There's really reason this boat is here.
He is right there.
Coming in, we've got the three canoe and the first two swinging.
Alrighty, I hope this next story floats your boat, and what floats the boat of the top kayakers from around the world is the Molokai Challenge, which takes place this weekend. Paul Drews talked with the two local paddlers about this grueling race and what drives them on the water.
These kayakers will travel 32 miles across the Kaiwi Channel, battling their way across swells, winds, and their own limits.
You feel pretty good for the most part, and then the last hour is like when it really sort of makes a difference who's in real good shape or not.
Training 3, 4, or even 5 days a week, these kayakers spend much of their life on the water. Years ago, they picked up their first kayak paddle and learned how to stay upright. Now they enjoy all the different aspects of this sport.
The first thing, I think, of course, is balance, because you can't stay on it, can't go. So that's the first thing, and to be able to get into all different types of water where the wind's hitting you from all sides, and so it's always balance. And then once you get that down, then surfing comes into play, and then learning how to paddle well in the flat water.
And all of those skills are needed in the race from Molokai to Oahu, where catching the swells just right will give you a much-needed extra boost.
The importance of catching the waves is like foremost, I think, so I just try and concentrate on that the whole time, just looking and okay, go for this and go for that one.
But while these athletes will be going for it this weekend, they'd also like to see more kayakers out in the water throughout the year.
If people were to give it a try, a chance, I think they would really enjoy it. So I would like to see it expand too, and I would love to see the kids hang on to the sport and get involved.
At Mauna Lua Bay, Paul Drews, KGMB 9 Sports.
Those are your two favorites, and check in Sunday, and we'll show you how they did.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Al.
And tomorrow, big kayak challenge. Paul did a piece earlier in the week profiling the local favorites, so we'll have that tomorrow also.
I like the local favorites.
Kelly Fay for the girls, and local favorites. Nalu Kukea should do well, and wind should be good for that, for those people getting ready. They're blowing the way that the kayakers want it to blow, so easterly winds. I'm sure they're sleeping right now for the big race on Molokai.
They better be.
Finishing up at a Hawaii Kai.
Thank you.
Terrific. Look forward to that.
Sure thing.
The 24th annual Molokai Challenge, 32 miles, one-person kayaks and canoes from Molokai to Koko Marina. Kayaker Dean Gardner finished first in 3 hours, 27 minutes, 15 seconds. Mark Brigg, the first in a canoe, in 4:06:22. Kelly Fay, the first women's kayak, defending her title. Cheryl Villegas won the Wahine canoe in 5:21:10.
Pretty good. It was one of the hardest races I've done. Conditions were good.
Conditions were great. I don't know, just one wave after the next, and there were some spots that were a little tough, but I don't know, to surf all the way, we were fortunate.
I'm just happy I survived it. I just came to just do it.
Its reputation is notorious. The Kaiwi Channel separates Molokai and Oahu and is known around the world as one of the most treacherous open ocean passages there is. And today, the world's top kayakers and solo canoe paddlers tested the grueling 32-mile course in the 21st running of the Molokai Channel. And you are watching Dean Gardner cross the finish line first in the men's kayak division. The Australian did it in a time of 3 hours, 27 minutes, 15 seconds. Local boy Nalu Kukea finished second and was just a minute behind Gardner. And in the women's division, a very tired-looking Kelly Fay successfully defends her Molokai Challenge title with a time of 4 hours, 9 minutes, and 53 seconds.
There were some spots that were a little tough, but the surf all the way, we were fortunate, and the only part that was really, really tough was the headwind coming in around Portlock. It was great.
It was pretty good. It was one of the hardest races I've done. Conditions were good, but Nalu was just pushing it the whole way. It was an incredible race.
Meanwhile, Hawaii Kai's Mark Rigg won the men's solo canoe division, and you can see he's just happy to cross the finish line. And an enthusiastic Cheryl Villegas out of Kona took top honors in the women's solo canoe division. That dip felt good.
Well, sports is next, and the challenge was on for the world's best kayakers who raced from Molokai to Oahu.
The Jenny K. Wilson Golf Tournament crowns a champion.
Moving from the west end of Molokai to the east end of Oahu, the Starbucks Molokai Challenge tests competitors' skills in navigation using one-person surf ski and solo outrigger canoes. Here's KGMB's Neil Everett navigating the surf ski portion of today's 32-mile race.
From the beginning, this was Nalu Kukea's race to win. Just ask the man who won it.
Within half an hour of the start, he was 100 meters in front and wasn't looking back, and I thought, I'm going to have to do something really special to try and catch him. And lucky for me, I got some good swells midway through the race and caught him. And
I'm pretty happy. I think I had a good race, and you got to give credit to Dean. I mean, he's good. That's why he wins these things.
And while Kukea continues in his role as Hawaii's favorite son of the open ocean,
yeah, I think I have an advantage with being the local favorite for sure.
It was Gardner who drew on extra inspiration today. Because of the difference that you made up, is this win more special than some of your previous ones?
I think every win's special because every race is a different one. This one was special to me because my grandmother died about a week ago, so I really did it for her.
And while Dean Gardner is the man, Kelly Fay is still the woman to beat. She's the top Wahine finisher for the 5th year in a row.
I love to surf, and being out in the middle of the channel, it's a really good feeling. So I guess it's more of kind of a challenge for yourself and competing, against yourself as well as whoever else is out there.
At Coco Marina, I'm Neil Everett, KGMB 9 Sports.
All right, Dean Gardner and Kelly Fay, they are probably taking a nap right now. 32 miles from Molokai to Oahu. That is quite a feat.
Oh, well done.
My hat's off to them. I get fatigued after 5 minutes. I kid you not.
I get fatigued
so
watching them come in. That's amazing that they can do that.
Finally in sports, the 21st annual Molokai Challenge. Your winners in the men's kayak race, Dean Gardner from Australia beat Hawaii's Nalu Kukea by less than a minute. In the women's kayak race, Kelly Fay by 12 minutes over Tahiti's Nicole Montel. In the men's solo canoe race, Mark Rigg ahead of John Foti. Rigg finished in a time of 4 hours, 6 minutes. In the women's solo, Kona's Cheryl Villegas finished in a time of 5 hours, 21 minutes, followed by Donna Kahakui.
The 24th annual Molokai Challenge went down today. 32 miles in one-person kayaks and canoes from Molokai to Coco Marina. Kayaker Dean Gardner finished first in 3 hours, 27 minutes, 15 seconds. Mark Rigg first in a canoe at 4:06:22. Kelly Fay defended in the women's kayak, 4:09:53 her time. And Cheryl Villegas won the Wahine canoe in 5:21:10.
It was pretty good. It was one of the hardest races I've done. Conditions were good.
Conditions were great. I don't know, just one wave after the next, and there were some spots that were a little tough, but I don't know, it was surf all the way. We were fortunate.
I'm just happy I survived it. I just came to just do it.
Today, often you'll see them start from the beach, but the surf conditions here today are very treacherous. We're ready for the start. There they go, 4.3 miles around Rabbit Island. A couple paddlers to watch right there in the center of your screen is Dean Gardner from Australia. He's won this event a number of times, and he's the clear favorite here today.
He's won this event and many others in the Hawaiian Islands. Craig, what are some of the traits a good paddler has to have?
One of the things that comes to the forefront when you look at Dean Gardner is his stroke rating. He never misses a beat, no matter how rough the conditions are. As we see him here sort of move to the front, there's a great shot of that stroke. No matter whether he's on a swell or whether he's going over a wave, that stroke stays the same, and that's the key to staying out in front.
And that's exactly where Dean Gardner is right now, out in front of a pack that is beginning to spread out a little bit. The king of the kayak taking the lead.
Another thing you have to think about is kayak paddling is not just upper body strength. There's also a lot of things that you do with your lower body as well as your legs. You're driving off your feet on every stroke, and so the strength in your hips and in your lower body is just as important often as the strength in your upper body.
Dean Gardner picking the line and riding the swells as the 1997 Hawaiian International Ocean Challenge gets off to a grueling start. Aloha and welcome to Makapu'u Beach. We're on the eastern tip of the island of Oahu here in Hawaii, and we're here for the Hawaiian International Ocean Challenge. It's part of the Outrigger Hotel's Hawaiian Ocean Fest. But on tap first here, the surf ski. Let's take a look at the course.
Because of the rough conditions today, the competitors started in the water just off the beach. This course is 4.3 miles long and runs clockwise around Rabbit Island, across to a buoy at the point, and back into the beach. First man through the arch with his paddle in hand will be the winner.
Well, this is Dean Gardner, our leader, and right behind him, Martin Kinney. They're in the calm waters of Rabbit Island's wave shadow, but things are going to get hairy again real soon.
Well, this calm water is sort of the calm before the storm, Dan. You can see there's very little chop on the water, and Dean and his teammate Martin Kenny are actually working together, pushing each other. You see them go over that wave there right at the point here around Rabbit Island. Martin's trying to get a little bit of a lead. They've actually run into each other before, so Martin trying to probably get as far away from Dean as he can.
Saw the spectators there on the beach with the binoculars trying to watch as long as they can. Competitors will eventually get out of their line of sight. Paul Green of New Zealand is in third. Behind him, that's his teammate John Crichton. And it looks like, yeah, fighting a little bit of the swell coming the other way. And that's Chris Maynard, the Aussie that's always doing well in these events.
Dan, it's no accident that the Southern Hemisphere countries are dominating this paddle event. Australia and New Zealand have always been strong in the kayak, and they just seem to have a knack for it. Martin Kenny, very strong at this point, still out in front.
Welcome back to the Hawaiian International Ocean Challenge. Martin Kinney is our leader over Gardner, Green, Crichton, and Maynard. And all of them have found themselves in some pretty rough waters right now, Craig.
You're right, Dan. We saw the calm earlier. Well, this could definitely be considered the storm. These swells are huge. These kayaks are 18 feet long, and when you see them go under these swells, you get a great idea just how big this ocean has become.
We talked to defending champion Dean Gardner to see if he had a strategy in this race.
Not really. The crucial thing is to be with the leaders going around Rabbit, because when you get to there, you can't make up ground once you're on the back there, because everyone's getting hit by different chops, and it's hard to push through and actually catch someone that's in front of you. So if you're with the leaders going around there, you can either sit on someone's wash or or strategically paddle as fast as you want so people are sitting on your washes. And then you get around Rabbit, and it's just kind of a sideways, side chop run back down towards the buoy off Makapu Point. And then it's a scream home. It's like an elevator ride home. You just fly home with the runs and pick up all sorts of good chops and catch a little wave at the end, hopefully.
Dean Gardner now pulling alongside Martin Kenny. They've been in this position before. Dean knows what it takes to win.
That won't happen if Martin Kenny or Paul Green of New Zealand have their way. Let's get back to that surf ski race. The leaders finishing that trip around Rabbit Island. Martin Kenny, Dean Gardner, the Aussies, leading the way.
Martin Kenny on the left, Dean Gardner on the right, Martin on the blue ski or kayak, Dean on the white. With these swells, it's literally like a washing machine out there, and what they're trying to do is catch the longest part of the swell as possible. We talked about Dean Gardner's stroke earlier, Dan, and this is where his stroke really seems to pay off. Here's Chris Maynard, who's now moved into third position.
Craig, to get us some perspective on where exactly they are, let's look at that course map again and tell us where they're going.
Well, from Makapu'u Point, they'll round a buoy with their right shoulder. They'll go along the cliffs of Makapu'u Beach and head straight in for the beach. This is the downwind run, as most of the racers refer to it. They'll go with the swells for that last bit of the race.
This is Paul Green. He is in fourth and doing quite well for his first Hawaiian International Ocean Challenge experience.
Every year, a couple new competitors do come in, Dan, but Martin Kenny and Dean Gardner have been around since the inception in 1990, and Martin knows more than a few reasons why he likes to come here to Hawaii.
I think the fact that it's a team, the whole thing is based on team score, so there's no individual egos here. It's just everyone's here to, everyone in each team is there to do the best for their team. Everyone's got the utmost respect for one another. We're all professional lifeguards. We pull people out of the water for a living, and this is a sort of a release. Obviously in Australia, the competition's a very serious side of it, but we also take, our work very seriously. So coming here, we're not at work, but we're with guys that have the same interests as us. We're having fun, trading secrets. They've got things we've got to learn, and we've got things that they need to learn, and everyone seems to be quite happy with just sharing the whole experience.
Mitch Kahn from California is in sixth position, and right behind him, Guy Perry from Hawaii, a true waterman, in seventh.
Here are the current standings. We'll be back with more of our Hawaiian International Ocean Challenge in a moment. Welcome back to the Hawaiian International Ocean Challenge. I'm Dan Cook, along with me, Craig Hummer. And we are in the surf ski competition. Dean Gardner, Martin Kenny, Australians out in front. Teammate Chris Maynard, along with Kiwis Paul Green and John Crichton, are giving chase. And they're about to approach the most fun part of this course.
That's right, Dan. These two were the pre-race favorites. Both have won this event before. But look at this. Martin Kenny putting in a big sprint to get in front of Dean to have first crack at that turning buoy. The reason being is that will get him on the downward swells, the fun part of the race, as you called it, that much faster, and could enable him to take this race away from Dean Gardner.
Well, Kenny may have made the move there early, but Dean Gardner, well-known, well-respected for his ability to catch the runners and make up for time lost there at the buoy. We'll see some action here in a moment as he moves in on Martin Kenny.
Well, Martin put that move right before the buoy, and that gave him a large lead over Dean at the moment. The New Zealand competitors, John Crichton and Paul Green. John known for his flat water paddling, but doing an admirable job here out in the rough stuff.
This is Chris Maynard. He's in third. He has always done well in this race, but never won. He'll turn right at the buoy and hope to catch a wave to propel him to his first win.
Chris, a very versatile athlete, and actually a perfect example of how the Australian team simply brings well-rounded competitors.
Oh, no, they have to do the other things. I mean, we've probably got some better paddlers and maybe better ski paddlers at home, but when you take them out of that and then, say, put them in the outrigger, they're just wailing at the water and the boat's not going somewhere. So they have to have that in, and most of them do have good outrigger skills. And then the swimming. So, I think... as I said, looking at it overall, and I look at it each year, looking for somebody new, of course, that qualifies to make the team. And this year it just didn't go beyond the guys that I brought last year. So I'm quite happy with that.
They call him Fossil. That's Coach Hayden Kenny. His son Martin, along with Dean Gardner, going at it stroke for stroke.
Dan, they're entering the impact zone where the surf actually plays a very big role in the finish. They've been riding these swells, and that's what the kayaks are designed for. But when you get a breaking wave, like you see right there behind Dean Gardner, he goes off to the side, as does Martin. This could add an interesting mix to the race. Martin trying to spin his kayak back around while Dean tries to simply get back on. Both of them very experienced, and for that to happen, that takes a very big wave.
Craig, you know, these two guys have bumped into each other before. I think it was a couple of years ago, and it got a hole in Gardner's boat, and it ended up making a big difference in the finish. And again, Martin Kinney, after the bump, comes out the winner. He's our champion in the surf ski, and it will be Dean Gardner in second.
Dean Gardner in second position, and in third position, the third Australian, Chris Maynard. The triumvirate here, first, second, and third. The Australians have done this a number of years, Dan, and this year is no different.
See them talking about that bump there on the swell. This team is just great. They are in great shape and very well coached by Hayden Kinney. Chris Maynard, he's got a handful of third-place finishes in the surf ski event, and he's got another one today. Smiles and high fives from his teammates. They're very competitive out there in the water, but through the finish line, and it's smiles and handshakes all around.
Fourth position, John Crichton from New Zealand. We talked about his flatwater paddling prowess, and Paul Green in fifth position for New Zealand.
Big battle developing back here for sixth place between Mitch Kahn, the flatwater kayaker from California, an Olympic athlete, and Guy Perry, Hawaii lifeguard, very well-known waterman here in the islands. They are going neck and neck, stroke for stroke up to the beach, and it looks like Mitch Kahn got a better break on that wave, and it's a foot race. Mitch Kahn will win it. He gets sixth. Guy Perry from Hawaii will take seventh. Let's take a look at the official results. Kinney, Gardner, Maynard, Crichton, and Green. Craig Hemmer is standing by with our win.
Never before has Africa had the opportunity to host an ocean paddling event of this caliber, with the strongest field ever to assemble on our shores. For years, our paddlers have been waiting for an event like this to happen, an event that will play an instrumental role in the World Series. The event, the King of the Harbour, its purpose, to find the world's greatest singles paddler. Old Mutual Investment Frontiers is proud to bring you the King of the Harbour. Only on Supersport, your channel of champions. Cape Town, South Africa, an area with a character which comprises a wonderful cultural blend of European settlers and local tribes from the north. The paternal presence of Table Mountain, the pristine coastline with its irresistible beaches, the magnificent countryside with its unique fauna and flora, together with its warm summer climate and friendly community, make the Western Cape a perfect destination for any sporting event. Let's get straight to the start, the fishing village of Hout Bay. And temperatures are expected to reach somewhere around about 25 degrees today, and with the flat seas it's going to be hard, fast and tactical paddling all the way. The course is a little more than 32 kilometres, and the top paddlers are expected to be in the water for somewhere around about 2.5 hours, and this includes a short compulsory portage around the marker at Camps Bay Beach. Well, as the top 14 international and South African paddlers line up for the media, they're given a blessing in true African spirit by the local Sangoma. Let's take a look at the teams. First of all, Team International includes Lewis Lachlan from Tahiti, the current World Series leader. Also there, Dean Gardner, the Australian, he's a previous World Series champion. And the double Olympic champion, Daniel Scarpa. from Italy. And they're up against the South Africans, and there they are, including Hank McGregor and the brothers Oscar and Herman Chalupsky. Also look out for Graham Solomon. Although this race is to find the greatest singles ocean paddler, it's still open to all categories, and one of the big attractions is it's an opportunity for the recreational paddler to line up against the best in the world. And away they go, 10:30 on a Saturday morning, and with more than 90 paddlers crossing the starting line, it's a perfect day with minimal swell on the water. And as predicted, 2 times gold Olympic sprinter Danielle Scarpa escorts the paddlers past the harbour of Hout Bay. There is the familiar shaven head of Danielle Scarpa. He's a sprint specialist, so this is not the kind of event he would normally participate in, but he's not a force to be forgotten. But at this early stage in the race, the paddlers will be settling into their rhythm and making sure that if a diamond is formed, then they are not thrown off the pack. Now this is a race of endurance. Selecting the best line and using the swells to their advantage could secure a paddler line honours today if all goes well. As they make their way out of the bay, let's take a look at the route map. Starting from Hout Bay, the paddlers go past Sandy Bay Beach before reaching Llandudno. That's one of the most exclusive residential areas in the Cape. Then it's Camps Bay and past Camps Bay where they have a compulsory portage before moving on to the finish at the waterfront. As they make their way towards Dacre Island, the paddlers pass the towering rock formation, the Sentinel. That's a name given to the peak that guards the ocean entrance to Hout Bay. We're with the leaders now, and it's South Africa who take dominance in the water as Hank McGregor takes an early lead with Graham Solomon and Herman Chalupsky trailing closely behind. But only time will tell whether McGregor can hold this position as he has to prepare himself for the World Sprinting Championships coming up. And being a firm favourite, he will not want to lessen his chances of claiming that title. About 10 metres or so back from the leading trio, we've got Paul Moret sitting in 4th place, with Dean Gardner from Australia. He's the first international, and followed by a host of top paddlers trailing closely behind.
With me, I've got Dean Richards. Dean, just quickly, how do you see things going at the moment? Well, it was interesting in the beginning. The sprinters got ahead for a while, but it seems coming through this last couple of 100 meters, those three have broken away. In the background, you've got Paul Moret coming up, and some of the Australians coming up, Dean Gardner. So it's going to be a tight one. In these conditions, I think the most exciting part about this race is that I think it's open, and this race hasn't finished yet. It's got a long way to go.
We're back with the Australian Dean Gardner. He's still holding on to 5th place, with the South African Oscar Chalupsky just metres behind. Behind Chalupsky and to the left, you can see the Cape Townian Peter Cole, and to the right, the Italian Danielle Scarpa. Scarpa expressed his concern at the beginning of the race that being a sprint paddler, not having much experience in ocean paddling, it could cause some problems. Close up and making his presence felt early in the race is the South African wildcard, David Mocker. He's now sitting to the right of Dean Gardner, while Scarpa has now latched onto Oscar Chalupsky, and behind him sits Julian Calabo. The Tahitian, Lewis Lachlan, the current World Series winner, and Martin Kenny from Australia are taking a slightly slower pace at this stage, which could just pay off later in the race.
Yes, I realize that Venice is a city where everyone wishes to go, wishes to visit, and I grew up in my family to. They don't teach me about sports, but they teach me about a good way of life, to sacrifice, to get the goal of your life. So they helped me in this way, and they let me free to do it. So it was a good chance for me to compete against myself before the other. And I think one of my motto is to be strong, you must win yourself before the other. and sometimes it's true. It's very true. The worst competitor is us against ourselves.
The field have now stretched themselves out considerably, and here some of the backmarkers make their way past Dacre Island. Dacre Island is a well-known tourist attraction and the home and breeding ground for the Cape fur seal. Feeding on these seals is the ocean's greatest predator, the great white shark, which can occasionally be seen along this stretch. Once at the top of the food chain, it's now slowly being put at risk by its only threat, and that's man. Over the years, this coastline has claimed its fair share of shipwrecks and the lives of those who sailed in them. This drilling platform has been sitting on these rocks several years, and in time the sea will claim it completely. The King of the Harbour South Africa is an association event with the King of the Harbour in Australia, which takes place between Manly Beach and the Sydney Harbour. A now world famous event that attracts the best in the world, and with this event now becoming part of the Ocean Paddling World Circuit, it's safe to say that South Africa is now on a par with the rest of the world and other major ocean paddling events that are held annually in countries such as Hawaii, Australia, Canada and Tahiti. Meanwhile, up in front, Herman Chalupsky and David Mocker are starting to open up something of a gap.
It's very much changing conditions. We've had this 8.5 knot wind blowing, and as we go around the point, it looks as though the wind's died down, which is going to change this race again. But we're still way out here, and there's a long way to go. Absolutely, this race isn't over, and as I said, with all these top paddlers together, it's going to be an exciting race right to the end.
South African ocean kayaking legend Oscar Chalupsky is perhaps not in the best racing condition, but he is not a force to be forgotten, as his skill at reading the surf and riding the swells is probably the best in the world. The paddlers are now passing Sandy Bay, and Lewis Lachlan, the international race favourite, starts pushing up the pace. Behind him, the Italian Daniel Scarpa, while the Australian Martin Kenny is slipping further behind. And there you can see the beautiful area of Llandudno, famous for its attractive beaches and the characteristic rocky outcrops and huge granite boulders. That's Dean Gardner, who's just a short distance behind the Cape Townian Paul Moret.
Yeah, I became more and more competitive around probably in my early 20s. I realised that I had a great passion for the sport. I just loved the fact that you could go out there and do a race down the coast with the wind and surf and things that sort of came naturally to me were a little bit of a struggle for other people, and just riding swell and surf and chop I found quite easy to do, and because of that I started doing well in events, and it wasn't really like other sports where you do the hard yards and the grind. To me it was always a pleasure, so I guess I had an easier route than some other people do, but I've still done the hard work in the meantime. I've paddled flatwater canoes and raced at that sort of level as well, and done various other sorts of sports as well that require the hard sort of grind, but I just love being out in the water and love chasing swells.
As they make their way towards Llandudno, it's Herman Chalupsky and David Mocker who now lead the field. Herman has been rated among the South Africans most likely to win today, but having suffered from food poisoning in Tahiti at the last World Series race, which led to him finishing 4th, Chalupsky will be out to prove himself today, but he will be aware of the strong Tahitian, Lewis Lachlan, who's definitely the favourite to win. With the unseen currents and rips, paddling so close to the rocks really can be treacherous. The distance is now starting to take its toll on the Italian Daniel Scarpa. He's slowly dropping back through the field. Just behind him now is the Australian veteran Rob Taylor. Up in front and still setting an outstanding pace to the halfway mark is David Mocker. He's still battling it out for the lead with Herman Chalupsky. Mocker's a very versatile paddler. He's one of South Africa's top Ironman competitors, and also in surf lifesaving and the International Ocean Warrior Series, so only time will tell whether he can keep this up. Herman Chalupsky is a master in the ocean, and he'll be concentrating on working as efficiently as possible with his stroke and taking in the right amount of fluid and stretching his feet to keep the circulation going. That's Paul Moreira. He's moving into 4th place, just behind Graham Solomon. There is Solomon, a good flat water specialist. He's also a member of the national sprint team. He really is an outstanding all-rounder. Not far behind them, there is Oscar Chalupsky, and behind him, Lewis Lachlan.
I live on an atoll island of the Tuamotu Society, and I'm married, and we're having our 4th child next month, and it's a laid-back way of life, and just easy and all traditional way of being, very comfortable for me. When I'm not paddling, I coach outer gear canoe teams, my personal team, and take care of my family, and fishing and surfing, diving, all there is to do in Tahiti. I love my country, and all the people, they are always friendly to me. I've been successful in all my paddling since I started, and I'm always bringing a higher level each time, and so I already know by just being here and doing the best I can, that's more than enough for them, which I can guarantee that. But bringing victory back, it'll be another step, which I'm used to do all the time, to bring my country as high as possible.
Neither Mocha nor Chalupsky have eased up on their relentless pace. But Chalupsky, who is a little more experienced, he's opted for a different line, and he's gone to the right, and that could pay off for him. Chalupsky will be looking to ride every possible swell to give him as much of a lead as he can into the portage at Camps Bay. With Camps Bay in the distance, the paddlers are regrouping again, with the leaders taking about a 1.5 minute lead. Lewis Lachlan is into 3rd, he leads out Graham Solomon, Hank McGregor, Oscar Chalupsky, Paul Moreira, and a new face in the group, Julian Calabo.
I was lucky enough to grow up at the coast. I've been in Cape Town my whole life, which has been great. And out Fishokway, joining the lifesaving club when I was a youngster, not finding too much enjoyment in the running or the swimming, but just seeming to really enjoying getting on a surf skiing and doing the short races around the Cairns. Seemed to click with me. I started doing pretty well, and basically took it from there. The junior life-saving events at SA Champs and the rest of it. Summer ended, and the guys all moved across to the canoe club just down the road at Sunflare, and followed the seniors across and hopped into a K1, and that became my winter sport. And just as you're getting bored of the rivers and the rest of it, summer comes along again, and it's time for the surf skiing season again. So, and that's pretty much what I've been doing the last 15 years or so. I don't think there's more than a week or two that's gone past where I haven't picked up a paddle and paddled a craft of some sort, whether it's an ocean kayak, surf ski, or a river K1 or K2.
The leaders are just minutes away from Camps Bay, where the paddlers will have to complete a compulsory portage. The stop not only forms part of a safety check, but also allows a chance to repair any damages to boats, or for the competitors to take a drink. It also gives a chance for the spectators to get a closer look at the paddlers. Meanwhile, behind, the chasing pack are sticking together, but the portage ahead could prove crucial. There could also be some interesting regrouping as the paddlers head to the finish line at the waterfront.
I think it's still early days. I think let's wait. These guys are experienced paddlers. I think this is about 18 k's into the race, just over halfway. I think anything can still happen.
What do you think of how things have gone so far?
I think, as I say, I think this is it. You've got that big chasing bunch behind. There's at least another 6 or 7 boats behind, and half of that I think are the international paddlers. So let's wait and see what happens.
Looking at the gap, though, do you think this is too big a gap for them to make up in the second half, knowing Herman's experience?
No, I think they're going to be tracking this, and there's a lot of experience behind him, and I think this race is still open.
First onto the beach at Camps Bay for the portage is Herman Chalupsky, and the opportunity to be on his feet for a few seconds and to stretch those leg muscles, well, that'll be a welcome relief. And just under a minute later, David Mocker is second onto the beach. Chalupsky, having taken a brilliant line through the rocks, has managed to pull quite a good lead on the rest of the field. And as the others start to close, Mocker will have to maintain a good pace just to keep second place. Third out of the water will be Hank McGregor. He's followed closely by the pack of Graham Solomon, Oscar Chalupsky, Lewis Lachlan and Julian Calabo. The pack have managed to shake off Paul Moran. He's going to have to keep them in his sights if he wants to have any chance of catching them. Behind Moran is another South African, Peter Cole, and he's followed by Andrew Blackburn from KwaZulu-Natal. The 11th man out of the water, moving very gingerly indeed, is the Italian Daniel Scarpa. He's looking very stiff and sore. Let's take a look at the Camps Bay portage splits. Herman Chalupsky leads. He's got 54 seconds over David Mocker. But there is less than a minute covering the next 7. With conditions ideal, getting back into the water shouldn't prove too much of a problem for the majority of paddlers. But for some of the less experienced, even the little waves could become a hurdle after completing 20 kilometers already. Although this race is to find the greatest single ocean paddler in the world, it hasn't stopped the doubles coming out to enjoy the atmosphere. That's Clifton in the background, and Julian Calabo is slowly making his way through the field. Calabo is part of the South African ocean kayaking team, which recently participated in Tahiti. Now he's sitting in 6th place at the moment, so we could have a good finish from the youngster. Still sitting in around 7th place is Oscar Chalupsky, but the big surprise is that David Mocker, who was previously battling it out with Herman Chalupsky for the lead, has now dropped right back to 8th place.
Any event that you're going to bring international paddlers is very important. It's nice to have these international paddlers here so that the locals can see how big the sport and how good the guys really are. And again, we've never raced any international paddlers per se of this many international paddlers in South Africa. So it's definitely a first having a big field of international paddlers, and it's very good for the local guys to improve the standard. I think the South Africans probably are the best ocean paddlers in the world, and it'll be nice to actually show the South African public what we actually do when we go to Hawaii and Tahiti and win these big races against top-class fields. We're going to bring the people and show the people of South Africa what ocean paddling is all about.
That's Graham Solomon, and the Cape Tonian has had a really superb day today. He's moved into 4th place, and he's set to hold that position through to the finish. But it's this man, Lewis Lachlan, from Tahiti, who is finishing fastest of all. He's moving through the field, and he's now into 3rd place.
Just looking at tactics going into the bay now, is it going to be the strongest sprinter that will win this race? It's going to depend on the positioning, but that's probably when a guy like Henk has got the advantage. But just behind him, there's an interesting place. 2 more chaps coming through the background. Lewis Lachlan, he's in 3rd place. He's been pushing hard. But what is even more interesting is that Graham Solomon, who's a very strong sprinter, is with Lewis. They're catching up to the front too. So as I said earlier, I think it's anybody's game. You think it's all to play for right now? I think it would be a brave man who'd back any paddler right now.
That's Herman Chalupsky, and he really has dominated this race from start to finish. He had a tough battle over the first half with David Mocker, but then Mocker fell away. But now it's far from over, and he's got to contend with the chasers, Hank McGregor, Lewis Lachlan and Graham Solomon. They've still got 1st place in their sights. That's McGregor. McGregor now, he's got some tough choices to make. Will he go hard out from here, or will he save himself for the upcoming World Sprint Championships? But just look at Determination and concentration on this man's face. Lewis Lachlan, he lives on the water, and when he's not racing, would you believe, he's coaching an outrigger team. And sitting right behind him, that's Graham Solomon. It's these volunteers from the South African National Sea Rescue Institute who also play a big role in an event like this, as they keep their eyes on the safety of the paddlers. Still moving up through the field is Paul Moret. He's now moved up one place to 6th, just ahead of Oscar Chalupsky, and now in 5th place, Julian Calabo.
Basically, you've grown up all your life with a discipline. My old man installed discipline enough when you were 9, 10 years old. If you're not going to do the training, you're not going to win the races. And it's just a second nature, I think. Every day you wake up, if you don't train that one day, you actually get, you don't feel that good the next day because you haven't done enough training, and it's just built in your system all the time that every day you wake up, you need to train and improve yourself. And if you don't do it, you don't just feel good about yourself. That's why it's just like a personal, something within you that makes you go every day. And I don't know if I could sit back and come 20th or 30th in a race and just take it easy. I'd want to be up there all the time, so it's going to be difficult now, getting older, to see which, maybe do another sport or just carry on in another level in the sport.
As he comes around the breakwater, Herman Chalupsky, who's led for most of the way, can see Table Mountain directly ahead of him. Below that, you can see the city of Cape Town, and underneath that, the finish. At this stage, his muscles are tired, and he'll have to really focus to make sure that no challenger sneaks up behind him. Behind Chalupsky, an interesting race is developing, as Lachlan on the left and McGregor on the right both compete for second place. The two have chosen different lines, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Greeting the paddlers at the finish line are the BT Global Challenge yachts. They'll be leaving Cape Town in the next day or so. But victory seems secure for this man, Herman Chalupsky. He's had a quite superb race. The crowds applaud him as he makes his way under the Bastille Bridge and towards the finish at the world-renowned Cape Grace Hotel. He'll be setting, of course, a record time, this being the first event, a time which I'm sure in years to come will be broken. The battle for second place continues, with Lachlan leading McGregor by just metres. But up in front, it's going to be Herman Chalupsky who crosses the line first. 2 hours, 29 minutes, 49 seconds. To be crowned the King of the Harbour 2001 South Africa. Meanwhile, it is, after more than 2.5 hours, Lewis Lachlan who wins the race for second. 2 hours, 30 minutes, 52 seconds. Just ahead of this man, Hank McGregor, just 14 seconds behind in third.
At the end yard was extremely difficult. The guys were catching me so fast, and I decided to just really go 100% in the last half an hour, just to try and maintain that gap, because I knew at the end, if the guys were with me, they would have just ridden straight over me and in front of me at the finish. The whole way there's a threat. I managed to get a 1.5 minute lead at the halfway mark, but that's never enough. You still got an hour to go. The guys caught within 20 seconds, 15 seconds of me, and I just had to hang in there and just milk every single little run or little swell I could get, just to maintain that lead, and then maintain the lead, especially coming into the harbour.
What a day it's been for the South Africans. Just Lewis Lachlan of Tahiti there in second, breaking South African domination. 9 out of the first 10 were South Africans. And here are the winners from the other categories.